Welcome to Down Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. This is Miss Jenny, and I am your astrologer. So, if your nerves are as frazzled and frayed as the unraveling edge of an old wool sweater, congratulations, you're in good company because we're all there with you. We're all there with you. And as we look forward to 2024, many of us are just we're beyond anxious and overwrought. Those days are a couple years behind us now. At this point, we're all exhausted. We're all exhausted. But rather than sitting here and pontificating about the astrology of events, because Pluto will be doing its quadriceptile to blah 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 and blah blah, and back in the day, World War II, the collapse of Wall Street, economic failure, woo, right? Because there's a lot of doomsday astrologers and cynics, that like to go backward in time and compare what's happening now to what happened then. And the reality is it's not the same thing. Time and events and evolution tends to work on a spiral. So it's not unthinkable and it's not unusual, even in personal human growth, even in your own life. Think about that for a second. For you to spiral and return to similar themes and events and relationships and situations more than a few times until you get it right. Okay, so just like, your exes, seems like you keep marrying or ending up in the same types of relationships for a little while until you finally break free and move on past that. We're spiraling, right? So in history and human evolution, as far as the human race goes, yes, we spiral. So we're returning to dynamics, social dynamics, and things that foster growth or demand our spiritual growth, that are very similar to certain patterns and timelines we saw before, but it is not the same thing. It is not the same thing, not even close. And I'm here to tell you, if you step back, take a big breath and step back, and you got to look for it. Like you have to get through all of the clouds and dust and din and rubble. Ooh, you've got to step back and try to see it, because if you look, you'll see where we are making huge progress, right? But, it takes time. These things build on each other. And the other thing I want you guys, if you study astrology, I want you guys to understand, here's the thing about astrology. When these planets make their aspects or their big planetary shifts or change signs, it's not like flipping on an electric switch where things are on or off. Like, things don't just suddenly happen. Typically what happens is there are events and situations and occurrences that are building in momentum from way back here, like a wave in the ocean, right? So it's building and it's building and it's building and it's building until it reaches a crescendo. And then we have this wave or tsunami or whatever it is that we're getting. But the size of the wave that we see right now, when this planetary activity occurs, actually started back before then by quite a bit. So a lot of what we're seeing coming to culmination, as we're going through it right now, is things that have been building over the last few years. This is not sudden. And so when you look at the past, try not to look so far back in the past that you're scaring yourself and having the freak out alarm. Oh my God, it's going to be World War III. Blah! Oh dear God. And by the way, have you noticed that the only people who are quick to talk about civil wars, the World War III, the end times, typically are people who are, one, baby boomers, and listen, I'm right behind them, so I'm not that young, but they're going to die anyway. Like, nobody's drafting them into the military to go get killed, right? They're sitting on their comfy couches, sipping their cup of cynicism, talking about, World War II, World War III, Civil War. Do you think there'll be a Civil War? Or they're in situations where they're not going to be on the receiving end of some hateful, hostile, toothless troll carrying a gun, shooting them because they don't like the way they look, or stabbing them, as the case may be, right? Or blah, blah, blah. It's always the people who are the most comfortable and the least likely to have to suffer the consequences of these fates that they're discussing casually that are often the quickest to discuss it. So, with that said, as a woman who understands exactly how much work goes into producing a child and raising them into an adult, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not real interested in sending off anybody's kids to war, because it's not like we can just go pop out 12 more like a litter. So no world war, no civil war, no stupidity. Like, we got plenty of stupid people. We need to add into that with this negative cynicism, paranoia. So if that's what you're looking for, Leave the channel right now. I don't have it to give you, and I'm not going to because I think that's stupid. I'm just saying. Listen, it's like having cancer. It's one thing to be aware of having cancer. It's another to spend your entire life obsessing and focusing on the fact that you have cancer at the expense of everything else that you should be paying attention to and maybe doing something about. So there's that. Okay, now months to watch in 2024 are going to be January and May. These are the big pivotal months this year. We've got other stuff happening throughout the year, but these 2 months, January, May, are big turning points. So keep an eye on that. Pluto goes into Aquarius this year. And this is good and bad because Aquarius is a complicated sign. So on the one hand, Aquarius is the sign of the people, the common man, the teeming, writhing, unwashed, steamy, multicultural, multifaceted masses of every race, humankind. It's all of us, the diversity of humanity. So Pluto going to Aquarius puts the emphasis on diversity and humanity and all those wonderful things to the upset and confoundment of the racial purists who just insist that it's all about them. We're just hating on them because we just hate them. No, just stop it, Spanky. Stop it. Get over it. Okay. The other thing is Aquarius is the sign of the people, literally the people, the masses of people, power to the people. So one of the things that we've been seeing happening is the rise of unions in the United States anyway. Here in the United States, we've seen the rise of unions like strongly in the last year, 2023, which has been amazing. But remember, astrology and events and evolution is like a wave in the ocean. It builds from back here and reaches crescendo up here. And then when the planet shifts or changes or makes an action, that's when the wave breaks. So we're going to see the wave of that power to the people and the emphasis on the unique, important value of diversity and humanity in all its glorious, unexpected ways being a big theme this year. So that's a good thing. Now, here's the other side of that, right? The other problem is that Aquarius also rules, because Aquarius is complicated and are a pain in the butt, also rules automation and robotics. So there's been a lot, and again, this is all starting in 2023, but it's really going to hit critical mass and be the big thing that we're dealing with in 2024. So artificial intelligence and robotics are big conversations. They have been for a while, but now it's really going to be ubiquitous, like we're in your face kind of thing. So watch for that, and it will come with all sorts of ethical issues because Aquarius is the sign of the mind, right? So Sagittarius is about principles, right, and ethics. But Aquarius, it's about the mind. And the challenge with the sign of Aquarius is that there's often a choice between being in basically a cold fish, right, and a heartless, insensitive, calculating, what the hell? What's the word I'm looking for? Just a mental monster. It's all in their heads, all academic. Like it's not. They don't. What is it? The best way to describe Aquarius is a quote out of a Dostoevsky novel, The Brothers Karamazov. In this book, one of the lines from this military officer, who's a real piece of work, right? He says, I love humanity. It's the individuals I hate. That's Aquarius. And this is what we're kind of dealing with as we go through the year. This sense of loving the idea of humanity or loving the idea of people or loving the idea of society, but really struggling with interpersonal, intimate relationships, the one-on-one, face-to-face relationships. We're seeing a lot of it now with all the lunatics out here who are just just full of themselves. Oh, dear God. And the conflated victimhood has got to stop. Y'all need to stop. But this is what we're dealing with. And what we may also be seeing is some pushback finally on conflated victimhood. So people who are victims often don't identify as victims. They identify as survivors. They've been through a thing and they have survived it. They do not call themselves victims, and they don't use victimhood as a shield to protect and defend themselves against criticism or to get a free pass on everything. And often we've seen way too much in the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 6 years, and growing, where people have used the victim status for whatever they feel they've been victimized by and how as the great shield of defense that allows them to get away with even worse behavior because, listen, I'm the victim here. So it's a big contest who's the victim, right? And if you don't understand what this means an actual action. I want you to think about this for a second. Imagine that you are a rape, you don't identify as a rape survivor, you identify as a rape victim. I'm a rape victim. And because you're a rape victim and you tell people, listen, I've been a victim of rape. Don't you criticize me, right? You then go out and you don't just rape other people, right? Because, eye for eye sort of stuff. No. You go out and chop penises off, right? You go out and mutilate people. Yeah, that's it. Duh! You can't criticize me. I have a right. I'm a victim. I'm the victim here. Do you see how this works, right? And we're seeing a lot of this, and it's not just going on with Gaza and Israel, right? It's not just with Palestine and Israel. It's also with the alt-right. It's with the men's rights advocates, the incels. Oh my God, right? I'm the victim. Nobody will sleep with me. I'm the victim. Oh, Junior, get over it. Anyway, so we should see a lot of that getting called to the carpet this year, finally, because people need to knock it off. Jeez, what a cowardly way to go through life. Anyway, so sorry, there. So Pluto and Aquarius is going to give us a lot of weird stuff. So we should see some serious, also some serious advances and incursions, like invasive entry into our lives in terms of our privacy. Now, this has already started with the Homeland Security Act here in the United States. It's going to get worse. A lot more surveillance, which is going to come under Aquarius, a lot more invasive, I spy sort of thing on the common man and what the little man does. It's going to get complicated. It's going to get complicated. The good news, there is good news in here. The good news through all of this, one, is that Neptune is still in Pisces, and it's in the last degrees of Pisces. It's giving us our final chances to get it right. But it's there. So we have a boost and assistance if we make the decision to get our mind right and to live by our spiritual principles. Okay. The other is that Neptune in Pisces gives us the opportunity to have divine flashes of inspiration and insight, which is going to be tremendously helpful in terms of navigating the complicated problems that we're going to be dealing with in terms of values and priorities and ethics as we move forward. Because right now, one of the things that we're discovering is that our gods have clay feet. So our leadership, is showing themselves for who they are, which are basically ineffective, poor problem solvers who are very selfish and self-serving. And they're not all like that. But the problem is many people, entirely too many people, are driven by appearances. So when it comes to politics, remember, a politician is a policy maker. They make policies we have to live with. That's why politics matters. They make the rules we all have to play by. So the problem is, even now, people are and social media doesn't help. The younger generation, I don't know about them, is so driven by appearances. It's literally a popularity contest. We buy into the pretty privilege. So if someone is attractive and slick and polished, and it's not new, it's just worse these days, right? We assume that they're competent, that they're ethical, that they're honest, that they're trustworthy, that they're smart, blah, blah, that blah, like all these positive values that may not actually exist. We want to believe that because they're pretty, right? I see this all the time, especially with men and women. Pretty girls in particular. Pretty girls can be monstrous because people want to believe that they're much nicer, better, kinder, smarter, blah, blah, than they actually are. If you took their looks away and then looked at what they were actually doing, you'd see that they were frigging train wrecks or monsters. And that's where we're at with leadership. And we're going to be at that point through the year with our leadership. We're being asked, we're not required, we're asked to look at what they do. Look at who they are. Actions tell you everything about who a person is, not their looks. So if you're still voting on people who look good to you or feel good to you, you get the politicians you get. So I'm just saying. Anyway, so I know this is going to be the fastest, shortest thing ever. So this is 2024. We are looking at some paradigm shifts in terms of social evolution. We are looking at literally being given the opportunity, not the requirement, but the opportunity to get our mind right. Okay, we've got to get past surface appearances. It's going to be very easy this year to get lost in the soup, right? And just to buy into the whole hypnotic image thing. But if you want to get through this alive and you want to leave this place in a kind of condition your grandchildren are going to be able to thrive in or even survive in. Let's leave them something that they can live in, right? We have to stop confusing appearances with actions. Actions tell you everything. This year, the power is in the hands of the people. The people. Power to the people. We have that power, not these handful of idiots we made the mistake of electing and putting in charge, who suddenly lost the plot once they got there and saw all the shiny treasure and jewels they could get, as long as no one was paying attention. We have the power, but we have to pay attention, and we have to get our mind right, and we have to be committed to better things. Okay. So, that's it. I just can't. So this is your 2024 overview. We're going to do each month by month by month as we go on. I'm sorry I don't have more for you. The only other thing I could do is sit here and blow smoke up your butt, and do the whole, so Venus's entry into Mars's orbit, blah, 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 and clearly World War II, blah, 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 and 30 years ago, blah. I can't. We have enough to lose sleep over. And that's not helpful. So here's your homework. Moving into the year ahead, and write this on your calendar, right? Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Because that's the only way we're going to get through this. This is our last chance to get it right. And this whole thing about the God Squad and the Bible thumpers and the religious delusional freaks, right, who are just convinced that the world is going to come to an end. Remember, how many times have they predicted that the world was going to come to end before now? And like the Mormons all believe that when they die, they're going to get their own planet. They're going to get their own planet. They'll be the king of their own kingdom on a planet in space. And all their family wives come live with them, right? The ones the religion that advocates child marriage. And just on and on and on and on and on. There's a whole lot of wackadoodles out here that are really trying to push towards the Zionists, I think is the new word, right? They're really pushing for the end of the world because in their mind, remember, it's always the one who don't think that they're going to be affected by this that are the quickest to push for it. In their mind, they're going to heaven. The rest of us are stuck down here in hell and sulfur and fiery pits. So they're okay with destroying the world because as far as they're concerned, they're going someplace better as soon as it's all done. Yeah. Civil War! World War III! Oh my God, please. It's always the people who have the least to worry about in terms of how this shakes out that seem to be the quickest to applaud and build us up. So be aware that these are issues, just like having cancer, being aware of it is not the same thing as focusing on it, right? We are aware that we have problems. We are aware that there's stuff going on, but this year begins a whole cycle where the power is in the people's hands. You have this power, and the power, because it's a sign of Aquarius, a sign of the mind, is in your mind. Get your mind right. We can fix this. We can absolutely fix this, and we can change the trajectory of this rocket. We don't have to end up there, but if we don't get our minds right and make an active commitment to not feeding into that nonsense, right? That cynical, paranoid, delusional, nihilistic, end of the world BS. Please. If we don't make the effort to change the trajectory of everybody's consciousness, then that's exactly where we're going to end up, where those people are perfectly happy being, because as far as they're concerned, this doesn't really affect them, right? They're either going to die anyway, or somebody else's kids are going to go to war, or they're going to go to heaven and the rest of them are going to suffer. They see themselves as a special group that can, look over the lands and, the horizon and say, yeah, looks pretty bad for you there, Skippy. Oh my God. So we're not using astrology for that. We're going to use astrology to remind ourselves that there is a way out of this. And the way out of this right now, with Pluto going to Aquarius, Neptune in Pisces, and Uranus in Taurus, is about knowing that the power is in the people's hands. It's about diversity and humanity. Okay. It's also about compassion, right? And spirituality and, being the Christ consciousness or the Buddha consciousness, whatever your thing is, your deity, that's about spiritual connection and elevation, right? And not everybody's going to die except me because I'm getting on the bus with 144,000. Bullshit. No, you're getting on a bus, buddy, a short bus, a short special ed bus. And then, of course, Uranus and Taurus, which is literally about radical changes in our value systems and our priorities and how we nurture, build, and maintain a society that is sustainable for our grandkids. So no short-sighted thinking. Everything right now moving forward for the year ahead is about long-range vision, right? What are we leaving behind for the grandkids? How do we build a society and leave behind a world where our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will have something to work with, right? And that's going to require some mental exercise, okay? Like understanding some actual stuff going on that extends beyond our conceit and vanity, right? Or, our victimhood. Said somebody who's been a victim and sees herself as a survivor, not a victim of anything. I am no one's victim. I am a survivor. So there is that. And also now some special notes about this before I finish. Jupiter goes into Gemini, so lots and lots of talk, talking about both sides of the freaking mouth, right? More of that double speak that we went through back in 2016, 2017, right? Gemini. So cutting through the noise is going to be really challenging. May is going to be a huge month for just, oh my God, pay attention to May. And also understand that, Gemini is all talk, no action. So when it comes to what you need to believe and what you need to understand, where the truth is, always look for the action, not the double speak, because we're going to have a ton of it this year. The other thing is that Saturn remains in Pisces this year. And Saturn has been kicking ass and taking no prisoners. And literally not taking any names either. It's awesome. So Saturn has been doing what Saturn does, which has been a beautiful thing about consequences and karma and really bringing people to the table to have, their come to Jesus moment. And we're going to continue to have that through the year. So people who've been doing the right thing and trying to do the right thing will benefit. Okay. Miracles come in the 11th hour. People who have, they need this moment to be an example, among other things. They will get theirs too. And mixed in here will be a lot of people who are making big sacrifices for the rest of us. Okay. So just like in the Christian Bible, Jesus sacrificed himself, or God sacrificed Jesus to protect and I guess I don't know what you would call it, to take the suffering on for humanity, to give humanity a second chance, right? There will be lots and lots of people who are making very big sacrifices this year for the betterment of everyone else around them. Like literally people jumping on grenades to protect everybody else. So angels amongst us, my friends. Angels amongst us. So that is April. Like I said, we'll get into it month by month. I'm not going to do a huge long thing for this because you got to get your mind right. You just got to get your mind right. There's not enough astrology in the world, and there's not enough Pollyanna astrology, and there's not enough cynical astrology in the world to make any of this worthwhile if you're not willing to get your mind right. And only you know what it is you're prioritizing, valuing by the energy that you give it when you talk about it and what you support. So support the right things. If you're a baby boomer, get over yourself. Stop it. Just stop it with this nihilistic, cynical BS. Accept the fact that you're going to die. You're going to die. You and I, my friend, are at the end of our timeline. We're heading towards our finish line. We're not getting 20, 30, 100 more years. And that's okay. Because right now, we need to be doing the right thing and laying the foundation to make the world a better place for the people we're leaving behind, you big, selfish, conceited gits. Okay? For those of you who are younger, who've got your nose buried in your Instagram and your TikTok and everything else, you need to pay attention. It's not our job to take care of the world for you. You're an adult now. Congratulations. You're so adult. You're so grown. Here's your job. You got to pay attention. You've got to get involved. You've got to participate in making this world what you need it to be. So you have something to work with rather than crying the freaking blues about how unfair everything is. Yes, life is unfair. Life has always been unfair. And that's why we need to be fair. But it only happens when you're paying attention. And finally, for everybody, we've got to stop getting lost in appearances. Stop getting lost in appearances. When you listen to videos, start covering the screen or just not looking at the video and just listen to what people are saying. Listen, don't look. When you hear politicians talk, look at their track record. What have they actually done? Not what they're promising, not what they're saying, what they're doing. Close your eyes and listen to what they're actually saying. You'll hear it the minute, or imagine somebody ugly is saying it. You're going to see there's a huge difference in what you perceive suddenly now that the The image is gone because images are deceiving. We love beautiful things. We love shiny things. We like things that appeal to us visually. So much so that we're willing to believe just about anything as long as it looks nice. And that is a huge part of our downfall these days. So this is the year to change that. All right. Okay, so January horoscopes will be up shortly. Hope you guys are doing great. Believe it or not, we are making huge progress. I can't stress this enough. We're making huge progress. So you can't really see for all the smoke and din and noise and rubble, but we're believe me, like a boil, like coming to a head and bursting. So the toxin and poison gets released. It's messy and ugly and stinky right now. But underneath all of that, huge healing is happening. We are getting there. We are making such huge progress. Okay? All right. Talk to you guys later.